hello, and welcome to another fine episode of a Colts podcast brought to you by Fan Nation on SI.com and the Horseshoe Huddle. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. Buddy, not a very exciting week. However, we got a couple signings. We got some OTAs. We got some news around the league. We got some stuff to talk about. Andrew refused to take last week off, or this week off instead of last week. So here we are, and it worked out. I mean, Andrew's foresight just worked out very fine. But let's talk to Andrew, my fine friend. How are you? What's going on? How you been?
Not too bad, brother. It's beautiful weather outside here in Indiana. The neighbors are not mowing during our episode, but we'll give it about 5 minutes, and they'll fire that bad boy right up. But
Paige will be home soon, so that my sister's dogs, as you can see, I'm not in my usual location. My sister's dogs will be going nuts too, so we'll be on the same page.
But yeah, there were some signings this week. We got Nick Foles, a quarterback that was linked to the Colts, has been linked to the Colts for a while. Colts added a Pro Bowl running back, a former Pro Bowl running back as well. So we got some things to talk about. The NFL never sleeps. How you doing, man?
Doing fine. So originally I had planned to have our interns involved in this broadcast today, not showing their faces, not letting them talk on a microphone. However, my life's been a little bit chaotic last week. I've been better. But we're getting through. We're fine. Things are good. Heading down to Georgia tomorrow for a wedding in the lady's family. And always good to go see the father-in-law, stepmother-in-law, and sibling-in-law. So that's a lot of fun. So, Andrew, let's dig right in. So, the news everybody's mad about. I literally already threw that up. Let's leave the production to Brandon. Thanks a lot.
Sup, Matt?
By the way, talking about sup, PFT does a lot of shows now without the glasses on, and it freaks me out. I mean, there is a reason that dude's been wearing sunglasses for 25 years, and it's because he's got some weird eyes. Moving along. This week, the Colts have signed former Eagles quarterback, former Bears quarterback, veteran quarterback, Nick Foles. And as you see on the ticker below, former Pro Bowler, not former, but forever Super Bowl MVP. As their backup quarterback, Andrew, it's a 2-year deal, $2.5 million in year one. The Colts keep doing this. Like an unsure year two with the quarterbacks, and I love it. I mean, I'm fine with it. No commitment in year two. A lot to unpack here. Colts Twitter is very split on this, which is not unusual, but let's chat.
I like the move. I really do. I think Nick Foles is a very good backup quarterback to have. I think this puts the Colts in a place, as far as at the quarterback position, puts them in a place that they definitely weren't in 2021. Puts them more into having into like the 2020, 2018 mold, where you had a solid backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett that, if called upon, if you really needed him to start and play in a pinch, he could probably go out there and win you a game or so, especially against lower competition. I think that Nick Foles can do that. I mean, he pretty much did that last year with the Bears. He was a third string quarterback for most of the year. When Justin Fields was down, when Andy Dalton was down, Nick Foles started against the Seattle Seahawks last year, and he got the Bears the victory. So I really didn't understand the uproar from a lot of fans.
Let's just throw Matt's comment up here. Good proven backup. Saw some weird takes about this signing because you're talking about some takes on this. And Matt is a guy that gets into the thick of things in the Twitter. Colts Twitter, Colts Facebook, I think. And he really digs in and argues with guys. I gave up on that because I do the show, and that was too much. Matt just argues with him, and it's a lot of fun for him, I'm sure.
It's fun to watch. Fun to watch how he owns a lot of people because We know Matt. He's very, very intelligent. He has great takes on the Colts.
Stats. Uses stats.
Uses stats. But yeah, I mean, I really don't understand what the problem is. I mean, I do understand that there are probably some people out there that are all in on Sam Ehlinger, think that the Colts should let Ehlinger show what he's got. But the thing is, I think fans don't realize this. Coaches don't have to see them on game day in order to recognize and say give him a shot. They give him a shot every day in practice. I was there at training camp
before you take my shit, because you're gonna. Okay, let me say it, because this is one of those moments where you say the one thing I want to say about a topic the whole night. Okay. Why is it that these fans that are pissing and moaning think they know more about Sam Ehlinger from a little bit of preseason show and then absolutely nothing else than the coaches that see him play in practice every single day? Why do they think they know more? People are acting like we signed Nick Foles as our starting quarterback. They're upset about a backup quarterback position. This is hilarious to me. Sorry to cut you off, but I know you're going where I was going, and I have to make my one good point of the show. Why do these fans, fair-weather fans, think they know more than the guys in the building? You know, I just don't get it.
It took me one training camp practice. The first training camp practice I was at last year, I saw Sam Ehlinger go out there and throw. And even there, I'm like, I mean, the kid's smart. Don't get me wrong. He's very intelligent. He does have that it factor. And there's a reason why he beat out Jacob Eason. It's because he was able to grasp the playbook a hell of a lot better than Jacob Eason in a very short amount of time. But when you see him on the field, and this was just in a practice setting, the Colts defense was torching him. And yes, the Colts have a good defense, but at the same time, the offense in these practices usually has the advantage. So he's not fit to be a backup quarterback. Sam Ehlinger as a third string quarterback, a quarterback on your practice squad, sure. But the Colts made it known how they really felt about Sam Ehlinger last year. They trotted out Carson Wentz with 2 sprained ankles. Now, Ehlinger was hurt at the time, but they still trotted out Carson Wentz with 2 sprained ankles against Tennessee when they had Jacob Eason and Brett Hundley. They thought Wentz with 2 bum ankles gave them a better shot to beat Tennessee than either of those guys.
Kind of an important football game, by the way.
Yeah, and in the same breath, the 2 weeks left in the season, week 17 against the Las Vegas Raiders, Carson Wentz comes off the COVID-19 list that morning. Dude is still recovering from his illness. Sam Ehlinger is perfectly healthy, has been taking the starters reps all week. They still put Carson Wentz out there. They thought that a Carson Wentz with 0 practice, still coming off of COVID illness, gave them a better shot to win than Sam Ehlinger did. That's all you need to know right there about what the Colts think of as far as where they think Sam Ehlinger can take the Colts. And it's really a no-brainer as to why they signed Nick Foles when the opportunity arose.
2 things from me before we move on to 3 things from me before we move on to our next topic about Nick Foles. I'll move on to the next topic. Everybody calm down. We're not just going to skip over the quarterback talk, right? 1, this makes Sam Ehlinger clear number 3. Do you know what that does, Andrew? Free Sam Ehlinger up for gadget plays and the things that we've been talking about him being able to be used for since he was drafted a year ago. Okay, and then 2, this is hilarious. Stats Matt. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he said some takes he saw this week. He's only here to help us beat Jacksonville, which is just hilarious. Even if you leave out the Peterson thing, leave out the he played their thing. Boy, oh boy. Leave out he played their thing. Everything about it is hilarious. Just that take right there makes me really happy. But then again, and now I forget my third thing, but he's a solid backup in the event that Matt Ryan gets hurt. He fits a very, very similar playing style as Matt Ryan. And by the way, he's probably the greatest backup quarterback of all time, behind maybe Frank Reich. I don't know. I mean, it's close. It's tight. Name a better backup quarterback. Name a guy that comes in last couple games of the season, takes his team through the playoffs, and wins the Super Bowl. Frank Reich didn't win any Super Bowls. So name somebody better. You know what I mean? And 10 years ago, oh boy, I might be getting too old. Maybe let's say 15 years ago, nobody was pissing and moaning about Jim Sorgi or whether or not he had the job. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. Here we go. Colts loyalists, thanks for chirping in. With this stacked roster, we had to protect the season in case the unthinkable happens. And Nick Foles has historically performed better as a backup quarterback. And that's just a fact. I mean, I don't understand the hate. Blows my mind. Can't understand all the hate about a backup quarterback.
Yeah, Colts loyalist brings up a very, very good point. And actually, what I was getting ready to say. I mean, we don't expect Matt Ryan to go down this year. I mean, I was in my article that came out this morning. I was kind of looking at Matt Ryan's past. Matt Ryan's been in the league 14 years. He's missed 3 total games.
Yeah,
only 1 game since 2010. So
I wish you didn't say it, but you said it.
I mean, it's hard to think that Matt Ryan's actually going to go down. However, if the unthinkable does happen and he does go down, that's why you bring in a guy like Nick Foles, because he can step in a pinch. He knows the offense probably better than I would say a good percentage of this team, just because he's been in Reich's offense.
More than Matt Ryan at this point, probably.
He's been in Reich's offense for a long time. He knows the terminology. I mean, he's going to be able to step in and pick it up pretty quickly again. So you're going to have a guy that can step in, knows the offense, knows what Frank Reich expects out of the offense, and he can go out there and win you a game or two.
And not to mention, it's only going to cost us $2.5 million this year. Who gives a shit?
People forget the Colts were paying Jacoby Brissett close to $20 million a year when Philip Rivers was on this team.
Unbelievable that stat.
I mean, 2.5 million is not bad for an established quarterback, a guy that is going to be one of the better backup quarterbacks in this league, and a guy that's going to fit into the team, fit into the culture, not going to cause any issues, and honestly, the Colts don't even really want to see Nick Foles play. This is in case of an emergency. This is a guy that's going to be helpful in the meeting room, be a guy that is a veteran and has been in the league for 10, 11 years, somewhere around there. Someone that Matt Ryan can also bounce ideas off of, because you think Matt Ryan's going to really bounce some ideas off of Sam Ehlinger when Sam Ehlinger has not taken an NFL regular season snap? No, you're going to go with a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, he might not be the best quarterback entire world, but he's a very smart, cerebral quarterback like Matt Ryan. They can bounce ideas off each other and help make this offense better.
Stats Matt, third host. Reich was also the guy who convinced Foles to stay in football while in Philly. Also, Foles basically begged to be traded here last offseason openly during his press conferences with the Bears. Like, a lot of people were talking. Okay.
Well, and the thing is,
but sorry, I just got distracted by another comment that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I appreciate it. But I mean, Foles was talking in a press conference, basically like, yeah, I'd like to go play with Reich again. You know, I don't understand the hate. The guy's not going to play, hopefully, but if he does, he's really reliable, especially when he's not worn down from the long, hard seasons of being a starter. And not to mention, he shares a pretty big record, 7 touchdowns, 1 game, shares that with Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and other guys. I think 6 other guys than I just mentioned, 5 other guys, somewhere in that neighborhood. There's like 7 or 8 guys. So carry on.
Here's the last thing.
What's he bring to the team? What's he bring to the team, Andrew?
Well, it's kind of like what I just said. I mean, he brings a veteran presence to this team, right, that Matt Ryan can really bounce ideas off of. And again, a guy that can step in a pinch if need be and go out there and win you a game. And this is kind of the last thing I'll say on Nick Foles too, is that the Bears had to cut Nick Foles this offseason because the Colts were not going to trade for that contract. I mean, yes, his contract was a little bit more feasible now, but because the Bears decided to cut bait with him because they couldn't find a trade partner, that's what opened this up. So that way the Colts could go after and get a guy like Nick Foles, because if the Bears don't cut Nick Foles, I mean, obviously the Colts aren't going to trade for him. Sam Ellinger's probably still the number 2. So that's why that's why Chris Ballard always says the roster building process is always, it's a 365 day a year job. It's because you're always consistently looking to add guys to make the team better. And I think the Colts, the on-field product might not be better, but I think the Colts quarterback room got better because of this.
And Andrew,
real quick, you said, is Nick Foles the best backup quarterback of all time? Tom Brady was a backup quarterback and went on to win that Super Bowl.
Let's not listen.
What about Steve Young?
Okay.
Backing up Joe Montana.
Fine. No, sorry. My snap reaction. But keep in mind, Nick Foles beat Tom Brady. So
he did. You're not wrong.
Tom Brady. So maybe Steve Young, best of all time, but Tom Brady, number 3.
Where's Tom Brady in the chat to defend himself?
Where is Tom Brady? You know what? We took a week off. He lost track of schedule. He's in OTAs. Shit, you made me forget. Sing again.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's on me.
All right. Well, good or bad signing, Andrew?
I think it's a good signing. I really do. I think it makes the quarterback room better and I think it's going to be a help to this team.
This terrible host, Brandon Moses, says, great signing. I'm a terrible host, though. You see it in the comments, which, by the way, I appreciate the hate. Thank you for showing up. That's a blast. Let's move it along to another big surprise. This was a surprise. Nick Foles was not a surprise. This was a surprise. The Colts have signed running back PHILLIP Lindsay, who, by the way, at one point in time was the number 1 fantasy football running back in the league. Very interesting sign. Former Pro Bowl running back with the Broncos, 2,048 yards and 16 touchdowns, 2018 through 2019. Not as great since then. But he's been tossed around, and he's not just looking at this list of teams. Broncos, Texans, Dolphins has not had the offensive line that we have, has not had the supporting cast. What unique role do you see PHILLIP Lindsay bringing to the team, Andrew?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people when the signing happened. I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago now since we haven't had a show. But when PHILLIP Lindsay was signed to the Colts, saw a lot of people saying that, he was going to actually have a pretty big role in this offense. I'm still not sure if I see that. I think PHILLIP Lindsay comes in and there's no guarantee PHILLIP Lindsay makes the roster. I think he's got a good shot at it, but I think as of right now, when you look at him, his role would probably mirror that of what Marlon Mack's was last year. Marlon Mack was the 3rd string running back behind Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. That's not going to change. You're not going to see PHILLIP Lindsay beat out one or either one of those guys. Kyle Stewart, love the comment. Thank you. But I do see PHILLIP Lindsay being able to come in and kind of having that change of pace back role. Maybe think of what Jordan Wilkins was a couple years ago, being running back 3, coming in and possibly if you want to spell Taylor or Hines for a couple plays, then that'd be the perfect role for PHILLIP Lindsay.
Is there? Let me bring out analyst Andrew here. Is there a formation? Is there a set? Is there a situation where you go, hey, PHILLIP Lindsay here over Nyheim Hines or Jonathan Taylor? Just like specific situation, specific formation, specific down. Is there anything that you think PHILLIP Lindsay brings over Nyheim Hines or Jonathan Taylor? I can't imagine a thing over Jonathan Taylor, but maybe Jonathan Taylor needs a seat in Nyheim Hines. Whatever.
I don't think necessarily there's a specific skill set that Lindsay has that is better than Taylor.
He used to be a workhorse, by the way.
He did used to be a workhorse, and that's kind of what I was kind of getting to is if you think about it again, hopefully this does not happen. But if Taylor goes down or Hines goes down, then all of a sudden PHILLIP Lindsay is very valuable to this team because you think about if one of those guys goes down and running back is a position that injury can happen at any time. Without PHILLIP Lindsay being there, then you're thinking of guys like Deion Jackson, who I mean, he's okay. But do you really want your offense, your running game surrounded or built on Deion Jackson? Probably not.
And it was always one of those situations where Deion Jackson came in and nobody expected us to run the ball because Deion Jackson was in. And it was like, oh, wow, look, he got some yards. Maybe he's good. No, he got some yards because nobody expected him to touch a football.
Right. And so I think that's where Lindsay's role can be, is that number 3 running back. If one of the guys goes down, he can fill in a pinch. He's a guy that he can make some moves in between the tackles. He's not a guy that's necessarily going to break a lot of tackles, but he's by no means very easy to bring down. And I think he probably can see new life running behind this offensive line that the Colts have, because obviously when you're running behind Miami, Houston, not a very good offensive line to be showing your talent. So I'm sure that will help. That will help him this year as well. But yeah, I think primarily his role is going to be that running back 3 if he does make the team, and he can fill in or spell the guys if both of them, or if one of them's taking a break, if kind of like what Matt mentioned, or what one fan he saw mention is if Hines goes out in the slot and Taylor's taking a rest, maybe you throw him in the backfield, things like that.
By the way, is reasonable. It's reasonable, but Matt is seeing, his take was that he saw, not his take, was a permanent thing. Like that's a for sure thing. That is a situational thing. That is not an all the time thing that we expect to see.
One thing that I've kind of, and I've seen a couple people say it, and it kind of got my mind working, is do you think because I mean, Philip Lindsay was signed a couple weeks ago after rookie mini camp. The Colts signed another running back today that we'll talk about in a bit. With all these guys that they had signed as undrafted free agents coming in to compete for running back 3, do you think after that rookie mini camp, the Colts saw their stable and they're like, hey, these guys aren't necessarily as impressive as we might have thought. We need to add some more veteran competition to this running back 3 spot.
Our close personal friend Zach Hicks said it best in a tweet today. Looks like the Colts do not love the running backs that they ended up with through the draft and undrafted free agent situations. Yeah, I mean, I think it seems obvious. I don't think Zach made some miraculous discovery with that comment. Like he pointed it out. Obviously, I appreciate that, and he makes a good point. But I don't think he found gold. You know what I mean? Once he said it, it's like one of those things you go, well, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you know what I mean? So no, yes, I'm sorry, 100%.
Yeah, Kyle Stewart's got a good comment here. He says, big thing is, does Lindsay add any value on special teams? And I do think that's going to be key, because I as far as I know, Philip Lindsay hasn't really played too much special teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. But those running back 3s,
any Ballard team, just say, does he add value to special teams? And you've had a good take and good idea. Thank you, Kyle Stewart. I'm not picking on you, but hilarious thought.
It's true though. I mean, when you're looking at those back into the roster players, Deion Jackson, we know, plays special teams. If Philip Lindsay doesn't, I mean, there could be times if the Colts do keep 4 running backs, I would think Philip Lindsay would probably be one of those. But even though he would be technically running back 3, if he doesn't necessarily contribute on special teams, he could have some healthy scratches, and Deion Jackson could actually be the one that gets called up because of his special teams ability.
Interesting. I love you pointing out healthy scratch, that he'll be on the team, but he just might eat some healthy scratches as long as JT and Hines are healthy. He might not even be on the sideline. I appreciate that thought so much. Sounds small, but like just the foresight of like healthy scratch, especially like just the healthy scratches we've had at wide receiver the last couple of years. Very good thought. I like that. Stats Matt in with, he has had 11 kickoff returns and 3-point returns, so not very active. Not very active in that.
Not unless he's going to be one of the blockers. Then
that was all in 1 year. Not very active.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, unless they want to put somebody else at punt return, because if they want to give Naheem a bigger role, take him a little bit away from special teams, I think Isaiah Rodgers is still going to be the primary kickoff return man back there because of how well he's done in his first 2 years.
All right. Anything else on Philip Lindsay? I mean, let's ask the same deal here, Andrew. Good or bad signing?
As right now, I think it's good. I mean, I don't think it's bad to add competition, especially
We know
in
money.
camp. I don't nothing. It hasn't came out as far as what his deal is. My guess is it's a 1-year non-guaranteed deal because of they don't know if he's going to make the roster or not. But I would probably the vet minimum is what I'm thinking. But yeah, I mean, anytime you're going to add a former Pro Bowler for camp competition, I mean that's not a bad signing at all. Very very low risk and probably a medium reward for the Colts.
By the way, again, we do love the Nick Foles signing. Feel free to post your hate in the comments, but make sure while you're posting the hate that you subscribe, like, and share with your friends so they can hate us too. Other Colts news. Colts OTAs began today. 10 total OTA practices before mandatory mini camp.
It gives the guys an opportunity to actually get on the field, offense versus defense. So there's no live contact, but there is 7-on-7 drills, 9-on-7, 11-on-11. So there is offense versus defense. And the Colts did tease a little video today of some red zone work with Matt Ryan throwing up a slant to Michael Pittman Jr. and him going up and grabbing it. Looked pretty natural. So it was nice to see an accurate pass from a quarterback in the red zone. So yeah, this is where you get to see them get their feet wet, really get working, and then when they put the pads on, will be mandatory mini camp in June before they take off for the summer and reconvene and training camp at Grant Park.
I just added something to the notes, Andrew, if you want to check the end of this section. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those OTAs right now. It's one of those things. I mean, you expect Matt Ryan there. I expect Nick Foles there within the next couple of days. But I mean, Jim Irsay was very clear. Okay. Obviously, these are voluntary situations, but Jim Irsay expects these players to be there. And the nice thing about the way we draft, the way we acquire free agents, and the way we coach, I mean, I think the players expect themselves to be there. I think the player leaders expect their specific positional squads to be there. So I just don't think, we're not going to have the news that the Steelers have it. Josh reported earlier. I can't remember the player that I'm thinking of right now. Hey, no big deal. He's not there. It's voluntary. We're not going to hear. I don't think we're going to hear that.
Like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's not there at Cardinals camp right now. Aaron Rodgers isn't at the Packers camp.
He never is.
But the Colts did have near 100% participation today in OTAs, and I would expect that to be like that through the entire 10 practices up until the mandatory mini camp. And then real quick, I forgot to add this to the notes, just a little blurb. I'm not sure if you know about this, but the Colts will have joint practices in training camp this year with the Detroit Lions.
I do know that because you told me.
Better load up on some knee pads just in case.
Yeah, don't want anybody biting at those. Colts Loyalist says, wasn't Strausser the offensive line coach in Denver Lindsay's first season? Harpoon Bakery says, yep, Loyalist. Pretty sure that's right. Interesting fun fact. Stats Matt didn't bring that up. Sounds like he's fired. Change your name back to Matt. Okay, because if I don't see this shit coming through, what kind of a third co-host are you?
We can't expect him to know everything.
By the way, Andrew, I did check in with Stats Matt recently. He does take my jokes well. He knows I'm kidding. All's well. Anything else on OTA? I mean, this is the whole reason you said we have to have an episode this week. Turns out this is not the reason we had to have an episod this week.
Yeah, it worked out. I'll definitely be watching to see if I can get any information out of OTAs. The first OTA practice was literally today for the Colts, so there'll be more information to come out as the week goes on and into next week.
And the Colts have signed the entire 2022 draft class to their rookie deals. How much money does a first-round pick like Alec make?
Well, Alec was a second-round pick, so
you know what I meant. First pick. First pick, second round.
I think a total around 3 million ish. I could be wrong. 3 to 5 million, somewhere in there. It depends on the scale. But do you remember when this used to take a lot longer, when there were players like holding out, weren't going to sign their rookie deals because all the yeah, like back when Sam Bradford was the number 1 overall pick, and they gave him like 60 million guaranteed or something egregious like that. But now with the new CBA, it's all very structured. There really isn't wiggle room. So it seems like all the draft picks just get signed without any issues now.
All right, let's bring up this comment. I know he's not our quarterback anymore, but a dude covering Washington lists his first impressions of Wentz, and I about died laughing. From Stats Matt. Listen, I don't know what these comments were, but the obsession these Washington fans have with Colts reporting accounts, and the obsession that some Colts fans still have with Carson Wentz is making me poop my pants.
Hey, as long as you're not going in the porta potty, that's all that matters. But you gonna do it?
Why don't you just talk?
So now I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think I saw that tweet about.
Hey, and also don't be the guy that takes his shit in the porta potties.
There we go. Saw that tweet that Matt was referencing, and it was like Carson Wentz has great size, has a very powerful right arm, can throw a hell of a deep ball, and then the last one was just threw an interception, which is like it's what we said all last year. Great deep ball, great size, powerful arm, then he makes the boneheaded decisions. I feel like now I understand what Eagles fans were trying to tell Colts fans last year, and they over exaggerated.
They were bad,
but at the same time,
evidence.
The Washington fan base is now on the Wentz hype train, and just give it time.
Recorded.
Just give it time.
All right. What's next here, Andrew? The Colts have also signed running back Tyson Williams today. He's out of Penn State.
He went to BYU, but he's been in the league for a little bit now. He was with the Ravens for the past 2 seasons. Last year, he played in 13 games. I think he had 185 yards and a touchdown in 13 games. Started 3 of them. Another guy that is just coming in to build some competition for that running back 3 spot. So PHILLIP, Lindsay, Tyson Williams, Deion Jackson. Then you've got guys like Devontae Price, CJ Verdell. Those are the guys that are the undrafted free agents that'll be trying to make their way onto the roster as well. So it's a very deep group, and it's going to be a very tight competition for that running back 3 or running back 4 spot.
And let's see. Colts waive quarterback James Morgan, running back Max Borghi, and center Alex Millette. Pretty typical.
Just to make room
when you add people that you've added.
Right. Waive those 3 so they could add Foles, Lindsay, and Williams.
And Andrew, something you left out that I'm interested in. There's some debate going on right now on Twitter, at least, about TY or Julio or neither. Do you think there's some kind of thing going on right now in the Colts world between these 3 or 2 wide receivers, or the option of neither?
So I would, at this point, from things that I've heard about what the talks have been inside the organization, as Kyle Stewart says, I heard that Wentz made an ugly shovel pass that was intercepted. I would have guessed. Underrated comment there. But from what I've heard within the Colts organization, their talks with T.Y. Hilton are ongoing. Are they close to a deal? No, not at this time, but there's still an open line of communication there. And there are some other teams that have been interested in T.Y. Hilton. As far as the Julio Jones talk goes, the Colts have had 0 contact with Julio Jones, and they have so far expressed 0 interest in adding Julio Jones. As far as I know, Matt Ryan has not made a push for Julio Jones either. So I would say at this point, and the Colts really do like their wide receiver group right now, especially bringing in Alec Pierce, getting Jelani Woods in the fold at tight end. My guess is it's either going to be T.Y. Hilton or neither.
All right. By the way, I think I would take T.Y. for leadership, Julio by play. Is that fair?
Yeah, I could say that.
All right, and real quick here, just want to let the audience know what I wanted the thumbnail to be this week.
Oh, my Lord.
Josh did say I was allowed to put it in the show. And there it is. And I think this would have been way better than what we used. But what do I know? I'm just a sycophant, apparently. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. If you missed that, feel free to rewatch a show and go check that out again.
Stats Matt, let's move on. Stats Matt brings up a good comment here. Underrated news with keeping Morocco Brown. Yes, Morocco Brown was being highly considered for an assistant GM position with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's no longer the case. So he will be back with the Colts. And Dodds is no longer being considered for the Steelers job, so he's back with the Colts. The Colts are keeping two very high front office people with them for another season. Great to see.
Love TY, but would love to see us switch things up and sign Julio. From Jack. Kyle Stewart says TY would essentially be Coach Wayne's assistant. All good stuff. Let's move it on to news around the league, Andrew. Looks like the Saints have signed former Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry.
What you think about that wide receiver group now with Michael Thomas supposedly coming back, Jarvis Landry, and then Chris Olave out of Ohio State that they took with like the 12th pick?
I think that group right there is the reason that all of a sudden there's rumors directly from Drew Brees that he may come back and play football. I mean, how could you not like that, right? Interesting that Drew Brees all of a sudden is now like, oh, maybe I come back and play after Sean Payton retires. I don't know. It's in the whole thing's an interesting situation. I can't separate the three things. So we'll see.
I feel like Jameis Winston is also in a spot where he's like, it's like Tua. Jameis can't hide anymore. The pieces are in place for Jameis to go out and have a really good year.
Well. Sean Payton could come back as well. I mean, there's nobody stop. I mean, the coach that took over, I mean, I'm sure
it was his defensive coordinator.
He goes, okay. Drew Brees comes back. Sean Payton comes back. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. Browns have re-signed defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, who, by the way, has not played for the same team for 2 years since he was with the Texans, I believe. Stats Brandon.
This will be the first time. So, yeah, I Clowney tested the waters. I think he was looking for 14 to 15 million a year. Again, good for Jadeveon Clowney. Always overvaluing himself. I mean, if
usually getting it too.
If you're not going to believe in yourself to get high quality edge rusher money when you're not a high quality edge rusher, who will? So Jadeveon Clowney goes back to the Browns to play opposite of Myles Garrett, which probably the best thing for him personally.
Absolutely. The Eagles have signed former Giants cornerback James Bradberry.
The Eagles, I really like what the Eagles have done this off. I mean, you get AJ Brown. Get Hassan Riddick. Now you get
back it up. They say Jadeveon turned down 14 to 15 million multi-year to stay with the Browns.
Jadeveon Clowney, is he growing up? But why would you want to stay with the Browns? I don't know about that.
Deshaun Watson's a quarterback now. I think that's a Super Bowl potential team. Deshaun Watson might be playing quarterback there. I don't know.
Otherwise, it's Jacoby Brissett. So we all know how that's going to end.
Maybe I need to scroll through here. Has anything happened to Baker yet?
Baker is still there. He is not at OTAs, but he is still with the Browns. Anyways, but yeah, Eagles, AJ Brown, Hassan Riddick. I really liked what they did in the draft. Now they get James Bradberry to pair opposite of Darius Slay. I think the Eagles, if we were picking division winners right now, I'd be hard pressed not to pick the Eagles to win the NFC East.
Eagles or Dallas for sure, 100%. And I think I lean Eagles right now, and I'm sure we'll do an episode where we
Oh, yeah.
make these picks later this year before the season starts.
Are you going to do your division preview this summer?
Absolutely not. No, I am not. That was a lot of work. Told you last season I wasn't doing it this year. No. The Dolphins signed former Chiefs defensive end Melvin Ingram III. Tyler, of course, sent this to me the instant it happened, and let me know. Interesting.
He's a
That
good
team is interesting.
If you're counting on Ingram to be an every down pass rusher,
Right.
I don't think it's a very good signing. Ingram can come in on third downs or on just to be specifically a pass rush specialist in spurts, and he can put pressure on the quarterback.
Right. And the Ravens have signed former Broncos corner Kyle Fuller.
Kyle Fuller, who was really good cornerback for the Bears for a few years, got released last year, went to the Broncos, didn't really have that great of a year. Now he'll probably be fighting for probably the third or fourth corner spot on the Baltimore Ravens, if that.
Packers and cornerback Jair Alexander agreed to a 4-year, $84 million extension. Good corner.
I think that makes him the highest paid cornerback in the league now, which, I mean, he's fantastic lockdown corner for the Packers. They absolutely hit that pick
on the head.
Out of the water. Fantastic extension. And he's a good guy. I think hearing everything out of Green Bay, he's one of the respected leaders in that locker room.
Cardinals will be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks in season. Oh, in season for 2020. Who's off season? Lions?
So
Lions off season, Cardinals in season for 2022. Boy, that is a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray.
I think that's possibly why they picked it, to kind of see what happens behind the scenes with all of this. But this just came into my head. Lions are going to be for the preseason Hard Knocks. Lions play the Colts and are going to be there for those joint practices. So Hard Knocks will still be at the Colts facility this year, just for a week.
Okay, good point. Harpoon Bakery says they'll bench Wentz just to keep our third pick at third rounder in regards to Carson Wentz and Washington Commanders. Stats Matt says, I don't think they will if they're not eliminated. Listen, we found out last year with Carson Wentz in the same scenario, teams are going to play for a playoff spot until they are eliminated, and I think that's all there is to say.
Yeah, I would think that they're going to keep Wentz in there until they are eliminated, or unless Wentz gets really hurt.
Right. NFL Scouting Combine will remain in Indianapolis for 2023 and 2024. We've talked about this before. No need to go in depth, but we're happy.
Shouldn't have even been up for a debate, and I'm glad the NFL made this smart choice.
Though, still for years.
Hey, next year in February, maybe look at taking some days off and going down to Indy with me for the Combine. Let's do some networking. Let's see if we can get Ian Rappaport on the show.
Ian Rappaport on the show. Could happen.
A drunk conversation with Ian Rappaport in St. Elmo's.
Do we get Ian Rappaport drunk? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
In St. Elmo's?
In St. Elmo's.
Count me in. All right. Is that it, Andrew?
That's it for this week.
Tomas? Okay. Well, let me get rid of these banners, in the way of the things I'm trying to put on the screen. Go follow us at a Colts Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Interns start this week, so we're going to have some stuff popping up on Instagram a little more often, maybe a little more consistent tweeting.
Hey, I've been tweeting. Are you proud of me?
Andrew's been tweeting from the pod account. I was very impressed today, as a matter of fact. Instagram, TikTok coming up. Keep an eye out for that. And it's just probably going to be cuts of us talking anyway, but it should be fun. Follow us, like our YouTube stuff, subscribe, share it with your grandma. She probably thinks I'm attractive. She probably thinks Andrew has a full head of hair under these hats that he's always wearing. So I don't blame her for wanting to follow us and watch us, but you got to let her know.
Let's try to get the pod account and our personal accounts over 1,000 by the time.
Hey, Twitter's close.
By the time the season starts,
YouTube has a little ways to go. Everybody can see
YouTube as well.
We're not ashamed. We don't give a shit. I mean, we give a shit, but we would like for you to tell your friends. I think, you know what, Andrew? I think we're the best Colts podcast, not because we know the most, but we know enough, and we're definitely the most fun. Way more fun than some of those other dweebs out there. So tell your friends, hey, if you want to have a good time while listening to a Colts podcast, listen to us. If you want to learn a little bit more, stop listening to these dweebs and at least go to 1% better. I mean, come on. The guys talk to the people, but we're the only other podcast worth listening to. What other happened with Antonio Callaway and his tryout, Andrew? Do you know?
So Antonio Callaway got brought in for a camp tryout. That's happening currently. So no news to report there.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all's time. Glad you listened. Glad you enjoyed this shorter episode. And until next time, go Colts.
Go Colts.
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.